organizasyonumuzu ve şeyi anlatacak. Kusura bakmayın Yeşim Hanım, bu iki aletle birden ben dondum kaldım artık şu anda. Sorularınız olursa arkadaşlar ben yardımcı olmaya çalışacağım. Yeşim Hanım yardımcı olmaya çalışacak. Jimmy'yi dinleyelim. Hem bizden hem İngiltere'deki sistemden. Şu an özellikle olarak İngiltere'den konuşacağız. Ancak benim The English Education Turkey olarak Amerika ya da diğer ülkelerle ilgili olarak da size destek olabileceğimizi bir daha hatırlatmak isterim.
Teşekkür ederiz. Jimmy, it's all you.
Very kind. Thank you very much, Yeşim. We Secure Futures. What a big title. To introduce what I hope we're going to get through in the next 45-50 minutes, hour, however long it takes. It would be really nice if this is an informal session. And whilst I'm going to pose questions, I'd like you to also pose questions. And let's see where we go. The aim is to give you more information about UK schools, why I think they are world class, world leading, and how to access them, and what are the advantages for your children, most of whom I presume are at school right now in Turkey of varying ages. So if we move to the next slide, please, Yeşim. Thank you very much. English education, a little bit of introduction to me, and then we can dive through one of my slides. I'm a former headmaster here in the UK, so I spent 20 years teaching and then leading schools. I came away from that 10 years ago and now run a company called The English Education. We have recently opened our Turkish office, Istanbul, with the marvelous Yeşims, who are here tonight and have set this up, and thank you very much to them both. I work a lot, I have an office in Delhi, I work a lot in Stockholm, work a lot in the US, and now we are hoping to work with delightful families from Turkey. We're offering certainly expertise, but I think one of the key things is impartial advice. And I'm sure, Yeşim, you will explain what we mean by the impartial. Is it worth saying now what that means?
Yes, it is. It is very important. Shall I say that in Turkish or English or both?
Well, whichever you think is most important. My impartiality comes from my obsession, and it is an obsession because I'm child-focused, to get children into the right school.
Yeah.
I don't work with groups of schools, and I don't take payments from schools to place children in schools.
Mm-hmm.
I take parents' fees so that you are paying for impartial advice. And that is why, as a consultant, I am very, very different. The English education in Turkey, we are very different from most agencies who will send children to schools with whom they have a contract and they make a lot of money. And I think, that's really, really important.
Yeah. I think we should just elaborate on that. You've said some very, very important things, but I'd almost like to say it in Turkish as well, just to make sure.
Go for it.
In case anybody's a little shaky on their English. Siz anladınız tabii hepiniz ama hani üniversite tarafında olduğu gibi lise tarafında da birisi gidip de çocuğunuza şu liselere başvuralım, buraları sizin için daha uygun dediğinde o okuldan komisyon almıyor olması onun tavsiyesini takip etmenizde çok büyük rol alması lazım. Çünkü maalesef bu agentlarla, yani komisyoncularla yürütülen bir iş dünyada. Türkiye'de genellikle bunlardan görüyoruz. En çok komisyon aldıkları okullara yöneltmek amacında olacaklar. Onun için tam bunun tersi bir şey yok benim görebildiğim Türkiye'de. Yani varsa az. Bizim burada yapılmaya çalışan da o aslında. Yeşim Hanım, eklemek istediğiniz bir şey olabilir mi acaba? Yani biz bunun eksikliğini hissediyoruz üniversite tarafında da lise tarafında da. Onun için bunun bir sonlanması lazım ki gerçekten öğrenciye uygun, aileye uygun okullar tanımlansın.
Evet arkadaşlar, bu çok yakın tanıdığım arkadaşlarım var. Bir şey tarafından, agent tarafından İngiltere'de bir okula gönderilmiş ve çocuk şu anda çok mutsuz. Çünkü çocuk o okula uygun değil. Çocuk sadece yani şimdi bütün bunları öğrendikten sonra anladım ki çocuk aslında bir agent tarafından, bir komisyoncu tarafından hiç de kendisine uygun olmayan bir okula yerleştirilmiş durumda. İşte anne baba İngilizce bilmiyor, olayı takip edemiyorlar. Çocuk orada tek başına tırmalamak zorunda kalıyor vesaire. Bütün bunları altını çizip doğru kişiyle gerçekten bu işe gönül vermiş birileriyle çalışmak çok önemli diye ben de bu şekilde altını çizmiş olayım konunun.
Okay, we won't be interrupting you again. We're back to you.
It's great. It's great
We've-
to be interrupted.
We've,
It's great.
we've expanded on the, why non-agent, why what you just articulated is so critical to achieving the right solution, educational solution for each student.
Super. Thank you. Whilst singing my own praises or our own praises, honest, child-centered professional. Been running the business now for 8 years, and that's what we aim to do, all of us. We're highly experienced and we know our schools. We've worked in our schools over here in the UK as heads. We've led them. One of the really interesting points is this, the difference in the UK market between, we can call them selective and recruiting schools. And again, Yeshim, you may want to do a little bit of translation on this, but the selective schools just want phenomenally bright children, really, really intelligent boys and girls who, by definition, will be moving on to Ivy League, Oxbridge or Russell Group world-leading universities. They select incredibly intelligent children. They don't and won't pay commissions. Why would they? Because everybody wants to go to the schools. And then at the other end of the spectrum are schools who, to be honest, are really, really desperate to get hold of fee-paying international boarders from wonderful countries like Turkey. And they will pay a finder's fee to those agents. So you need to be wary of those who are just placing in the recruiting schools. My ambition, and the ambition of the team at the English Education in Turkey, is to get your child into the most academically suitable school. And the way we do so is through point 4 here, is the academic profiling test. And I'll explain more about that. But it gives objective data about your child in relation to children of their exact age here in the UK. So we can look at that data and I can say to you, you want to go to Winchester College, one of the, the most academically, you've got the data to support that. We can therefore help the application. On the other hand, the schools love the data because they know that I, as a former headmaster, schools inspector, have data on the child and I'm matching school to child. So it works every way. We offer complete solutions. So it's access to tutors, interview practice, university application guidance, and so on. I know very many of you, and we'll go into this later on, and let me answer your questions, are looking for best pathways to the best universities. And we'll discuss why a UK boarding school really enhances that. Yeshim, do you want to translate any of that, or are you happy?
Yeah. Let me. There's one nuance. Bir kimse kaçırdıysa diye siz anladığınızı biliyorum ama sadece şu recruiting ve selecting okullar arasındaki farkın açıklaması biraz açmak iyi olur. Türkçe'de yapalım bunu ki hiçbir şüphe kalmasın. Çünkü iki kategori okul var. Onu anlattığı şey o. Recruiting okullar zaten servislerini satmaya çalışıyor. Zaten komisyoncularla çalışıp yüksek komisyonu veren genellikle bu tarzda okullar. İsimlerine sarılmaya gerek yok. Ama bunun tezatında selektif yani seçici ve hiç kimseye komisyon vermeye gereksinimi olmayan okullar var. Onun için bedava olduğu için bir agent'a, bir komisyoncuya gittiğinizde bu okullara zaten hiçbir şekilde girmeniz için yok. Fırsat olamayabilir. Hepsini öğrenmeyeceksiniz bile. İkisinin arasındaki fark çok büyüktür. Onu burada belirtsem Türkçe olarak da belki bir katma değeri olur diye düşündüm. We can go on.
Super. Next slide, please. We can go through that very, very quickly. I think there might be a tiny little bit more at the bottom there, Yashim. But yeah, I university educated over here. I worked for 20 years in UK independent education. Independent means fee-paying schools, private schools. I was a deputy headmaster at senior level and then a headmaster. So I hope I'm qualified just to be able to share my thoughts with you today. And the little building that's sitting there, right in the middle there, that was my study as the headmaster of Taunton School. So next slide, please. There we go. I was also a schools inspector. I'm a schools governor, and I'm the co-founder of this academic profiling test, which we'll describe later on. Thank you. But these are the questions I'm anticipating from you. And I think maybe we'll go back to those later on, Yashim, if we haven't answered them already. But I suspect many of you want to know when is the best time to go. I mean, I can deal with that now. I think a question just flashed up. Super. If you're going at 18, that means you're going straight to university. I think it should maybe have been 16, and it might be my typographical error. Children come across either at 13, at 14, or at 16. Quite a few come across at 16 from all around the world, and they do so to enjoy the last 2 years of their education here at high school. We call it senior school, and they get either their IB diploma or their A levels, and then they move on to university. Which is best? Well, I can't tell you that because I haven't met your children. And there may be mummies out there who will say, I don't want my child to move until they are 16 because we love having them at home, or they're not mature enough to go yet. Totally down to you. I think I would say the earlier they go, the more they will benefit from the opportunities they're given, the more they will get into it. But if you are just looking for the last 2 years before university at the age of 16, not 18, then it can be absolutely brilliant. So I don't know if anybody wants to fire back at me on that one, or if there are any questions about age. It's a deeply personal thing. If you come across at 16 just for 2 years, universities love it. Do they love it more if you come across at 13 or 14? Probably not. But for your child, you may notice that they have actually got more value from the education they've had. Now, if they're happy at school in Turkey and they're getting a fabulous education, because I know there are many very good schools and they're happy at home, you will ask, what is the point of moving them at that stage? It's personal. Yeşim, anything there you wish to unpick?
Sorusu olanlar var mı yaşla ilgili? Sorabilirsiniz kendinizi mute'dan çıkarıp.
Üstüne mi yazacaksın?
İngilizce de sorabilirsiniz. Okay, I don't know that there are questions at this.
That's fine. My next point is why is it beneficial to undertake pre-university studies in the UK? It's about personal growth. It's about it being different. It's about the meeting of possibly different types of academic curriculum and also teaching styles that may well be beneficial to children as they are approaching university. Certainly more independence, certainly more creativity and risk-taking academically at these British boarding schools, because that's what they're set up to do. It's not rote learning. It's not just sitting there and learning it and regurgitating it and doing well in exams. It's about the development of the whole person. To actually see whether that's effective, you've just got to go and visit some schools and see the boys and girls at them and think, would my child fit in here? When I was a headmaster at Taunton School, we had delightful Turkish children. I remember a pair of twins from Istanbul who got on so well with it and absolutely loved it. That's 15 years ago. It's a very personal thing. We'll unpick that a little bit later on. What is the cost for a boarding education in the UK? I cannot be kind about this. It is an expensive proposition. And if you're looking at a US dollar equivalent, you are looking probably at, for children between 13 and 18, you're probably looking at something like $50,000 per annum. Are the scholarships available? Yes, there are, but they are not huge academic or sporting or drama. They're not huge amounts financially. They are more for the honour of having the scholarship. Most of the money that the UK boarding schools give out to families is actually now reserved for UK families who would not be able to access the education without financial support. Any questions at all? And forgive me if I'm going too quickly.
Jimmy, thank you very much. I'm just also curious about one issue regarding the cost. Is there any merit-based, let's say, like the university cases, the merit-based scholarship for the successful kids?
Yeah, merit-based. They call them scholarship awards, Yashin. There are, but as just said, the fee reduction is not huge. If you go to an American university and you are an amazing soccer player or a rower, you can get 100% fees paid for as a scholarship. It's not like that in the boarding education. 20% fee reduction might be the norm for a very, very talented child internationally. Now, I noticed one question did flash up. Are the fees the same for UK children as they are for international applicants? At most schools, very, very similar, if not identical. There are one or two of the most competitive schools. Brighton College recently has changed its fee structure and it charges a premium for international children in the sixth form because it has so many applicants. But generally, the fees are the same for UK boarding children as they are for international boarding children. They are much lower if you are a day student, if you just attend and you don't sleep at the school. Okay. Last bit there. How does the English education in Turkey differ from other agencies' consultants? I just know we are good. And I'm not saying that anybody else isn't as good, but we do offer huge amounts of professionalism, expertise. You will sense that as a former headmaster, schools inspector, me and my team, we are fairly well known. And if I recommend children to schools with the right objective data, we get to know your family terribly, terribly well. Actually, schools listen. And we do get children into the schools into which they deserve to go. We do a good job. I can't really say any more on that one. Next slide, please.
But before,
any questions? Yeah.
I do have one for what we mentioned prior, the difference between being an agent and rather looking for the right fit has to be brought up here once again, because Yeşim Hanım is a very good example in Turkish that one she's familiar with, but where students ended up miserable at a school placed by an agent because a fit was not being sought. And so you avoid that type of situation here because we will probably have much better insight and the right motivations in identifying that fit. I just want to add that. We're not
and a true story from me as a headmaster some 13, 14 years ago. A delightful young girl from Kazakhstan joined the school, and she must have been 10. Absolutely delightful, and her English wasn't very good, but within 2.5 years she was loving school. She loved it all the time, but her English got better. She was academically flying. Her father wrote me a letter to say we're taking her away, and I was upset because I thought this girl should be staying with us. The reason that she was leaving the school was because the agent had worked out that by removing her from my school and sending her to another, he would get another set of agency fees. Now, I thought that's disgusting. And I am bitterly opposed And when I set up this company, I said, I will never do anything like that. This is about the child. Okay?
That's how agents are, which is something to be aware of. Yeah.
Super.
Excuse
Okay,
me.
now-
Thank you, Jimmy.
Can I ask a question, please, at this moment?
Of course.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your time and for the seminar. Mr. Beal, my question would be regarding whether you would be touching during the seminar to the public school access, because we are aiming to move to the UK, and according to the catchment area of our house, we would like to maybe set our boy to a school there. Probably, I don't know. We will look for the alternatives. Is your agency helping or consulting in terms of finding a public school as well? That would be
Okay.
my question.
Thank you very much for the question. Is it Ahu?
Yes, yes,
My glasses are just good enough that I can read the.
no
read the-
problem.
There's an interesting word you use, public school. Now, in the UK, the word public school actually refers to private schools.
Okay,
It's a weird one. What actually you're talking about is government or state schools. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now,
Sorry for the confusion.
no, that's fine, but it's worth saying. My consultancy doesn't, because I have no expertise, but you are absolutely right. It is about catchment area. So if you find a school that you like, you have to live within a certain distance of that school to be able to apply. And most of the time, you have to already own the house.
Okay,
So you are constrained. And some of these very, very good state schools, because there are some brilliant free schools, the catchment area goes like this. Because everybody in the catchment area moves into the catchment area to send their children to the brilliant school. And therefore the house prices go up and people spend more money on the house than they would if they'd have sent their children to a private or a fee-paying school.
okay. Then I will alter my question to a different phase now. So if you would like our daughter to be in the last two, because she's 15 at the moment, for 16, she probably will get A level if we go there. So we will be able to work with you then to locate her to a good school that would help for her university efforts.
Absolutely, but very difficult for me to do for the non-fee paying schools because it depends where you live.
No,
But
fee paying,
absolutely-
that's fine.
no.
Yeah,
Absolutely, that's exactly what I do.
okay. I'll come back to
Exactly,
you
that's
later
it.
then. Okay, thank you
Super.
very much for your answers. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll move to the next slide and maybe we
Please
can.
do.
Good question, Kenneth. Maybe we can address only one pertinent, but difference between Swiss and UK did come up in
Yeah,
private.
absolutely.
Thank you.
The difference between Swiss and UK schools is it's subtle, but also it can be quite obvious. There is a lot of money in Switzerland. There's a lot of money in the UK, but many of these Swiss schools have some of the world's richest families joining them. And some of the very, very well-known Swiss schools don't always have the academic push. The word I use is academic rigor, because some of the children know full well that they don't have to do very well at school, sometimes not even behave very well at school, and life will be sorted. So I hope I've said that as subtly as I can, because there are some absolutely amazing Swiss schools, but there are some schools that educationally, I just don't think quite cut it. Yashim, is that okay?
Very clearly stated. Thank
Not
you.
very clearly, but you understand.
Yes.
Okay, what we are preparing our children, your children, and I've put life in 2030 and beyond. For some, with much younger children, it's 2035 and beyond. We don't yet know what jobs they will be doing. When I started teaching, and when I became a headmaster, there wasn't really an internet. There weren't TikTok designers. All of that stuff, it didn't exist. So what jobs are going to be out there, and what are the important things that all children need to succeed in this world in 2035, something like that. And that is what an outstanding boarding school will give. So if you click through those, please, and possibly click through them all, and I can go through them. These schools do have a high quality overall offer. Some of these schools are 150 years old. Some of them, in the case of Winchester College, are nearly 950, 1,000 years old. They have changed massively. And while all the buildings look like Hogwarts, within them, there is modern education. So you are getting the best of both worlds. Innovation coupled with high quality teaching. You'll get some fantastic facilities, and you'll get some of the best teachers in the world will be teaching in these schools, who adore children for all the right reasons, and they just want to pass on their knowledge to children in a caring environment. Independent creative thinking, there is no doubt at all. If you are an employer and you're sitting here, you want people who are prepared to take risks and have an independence of mind. If you go to a UK boarding school, these are the things that are given to you. It doesn't happen straight away. It doesn't happen straight away, but you will be given the freedom to make mistakes. I always liken it to, how far do you let your 7 or 8-year-old son climb up a tree? Because eventually they're going to climb onto a little branch which might break. Do you stop them climbing up the tree because you know they might get to a point that the branch starts creaking and therefore bring them down? Or do you let them go to a point where you know they're not going to hurt themselves too much and the branch can break? You have to let your parents grow at their own, your children grow at their own pace. This is what the schools do. Global citizenship. At the best schools, they will be surrounded with boys and girls, depending if it's a single sex or a co-ed school, from 40 other nations. The school that I was a headmaster of, they have 1,100 children and they have 52 different nationalities there. One thing that the boarding schools will do is life beyond the classroom. If you're into your arts, your music, your drama, whatever it might be, your coding, you're going to find a member of staff there who will use up as much time as you can give to either introduce you to a new passion, share their passions with you, or for you to develop into, really, really high quality sports, whatever it might be. I think values and beliefs are very, very important to any education, that you are tolerant, you are working with an understanding environment. Some of the most successful clubs at the school I ran involved debating, the ability to actually stand and talk with other people, argue with other people without getting cross. Really important things for children to discover, because that's what they're going to do at university. And if they can start doing that at 14, 15, 16, 17, they have confidence. Life-lasting friendships and networks, that goes, it's so clear that the boys and girls, certainly from the school I worked at and all other schools, they go out into the world with this gorgeous network of people. And the people you meet between the age of 16 and 18, the people you go to school with, you share rooms with between 13 and 18, they stay as your best friends because you have grown together and you never quite find that depth of relationship again. And if they come from Bhutan, or they come from Botswana, or if they come from Istanbul, so much the better, because you are bringing in different expectations and different growth. And I think this is a very important one. The next steps, the well-established pathways to university and beyond. And maybe we'll move on because I think maybe the next slide is about that. It is. I've got an office in Delhi, and I'm going down to Delhi before I come out to Istanbul, and I hope very much to come out to Istanbul within the next few months. The Turkish market, I know, is very, very similar in this respect to my Indian market, and that is so many of you are considering world-leading universities, whether they're in the UK or in Canada or in Europe or possibly in the US. The UK schools have worked incredibly hard recently, changed in the last 5 years, to offer the best counselling and the best support for children to get into, example, the US. These are different degrees of selectivity, these schools, but Marlborough, Radley. Marlborough is the school where Prince William, Princess Catherine will be sending their children. Radley, one of the finest single-sex schools. Lancing College, beautiful school on the south coast. Wellington College, one of the premier schools here. You'll see the figures that their sixth formers, UK children as well as international children, are moving to US universities as well as to the best universities in the UK. Why are they considered good applicants by the US universities? Well, it keeps on coming back to me because I ask them. Recently, I was speaking to Dean of Admissions at Columbia. We're saying we like these children who have spent time in the UK because of some of the things that I've mentioned to you already. Independence of mind, academic rigor, the preparedness to be confident without being arrogant. We like those children coming in to our universities because they involve themselves, they work hard, they make friends, and they succeed. So it is becoming a well-established pathway. I don't know if anybody has any questions there at all, or if I'm going too quickly, Yashin.
I have a question.
Hello, Yashin.
So, thank you very much. You gave the acceptance rate and samples for the US schools. But do you think graduating from the UK schools, UK high schools, will kind of extra support for the UK university admission?
It's a classic pathway. Absolutely, it supports you to get into the UK universities. The majority of boys and girls from the sorts of schools that, you know, very good children from Turkey will get into, they will move on to Russell Group universities, Oxbridge universities here in the UK. Most do. 10 years ago, they all did. But now schools recognise that other universities around the world are offering equally interesting programs. So they're doing both. But yes, if your mind was set on going to Durham University, Warwick University, Bristol University, Oxford, Cambridge, the really good universities over here, undoubtedly an application from a very good school over here would be an advantage. Absolutely no question. It doesn't mean the fees for you as an international student or an international child at a UK university would be any less. You'd probably still be having to pay the international fees, but the application process would be smoothed. Yeah. Definitely.
Go to the next page.
Thank you.
Super. Thank you. Thank you. Just, I mean, that is a slide that can remain there. We have placed since, gosh, September 2021, children into the premier schools here. These schools, the majority of them just don't pay any commission at all. But because we have taken them children who have academic rigor and have shown with our APT, their APT performance, they're academically capable. And we get to know the family well. You know, the families I work with, we spend quite a lot of time together on Zoom. And we actually get to know what your search parameters are, whether you want single sex, whether you want co-ed, whether you want to be an hour from London, whether you want rural, whether you want a school where they can do canoeing or play the trumpet, whatever it is, we drill into the interests of the child. I spend quite a lot of time with your children, finding out what makes them tick. I always say, you know, every clock has a pendulum. At what pace does it go? That's what I want to find out about the child. And then we do place. And those schools are all super schools. And the majority of children from those schools will be going on to world-leading universities. But even just in the top left, you've got Harrow School. Well, Harrow School has got a current British Prime Minister. Wellington College, a remarkable school. Marlborough College, we've already talked about Royal Connection, Sevenoaks, the premier IB school in the world. Eton College, every prime minister, bar the current one, has been to Eton College. But then if you look down in the bottom left hand, there's a school called Bryanston. Now, Bryanston is a deeply artistic school where most of the media moguls, the designers, your Conrads, your Lucian Freuds went to school there. So if you have an artistic child who is as yet untapped, then we'd be pointing them towards a school like Bryanston. Every school has a different flavour, and it's down for me, like a chess game, to work out where the pieces go.
There's two really good questions. I see that they're asked directly to me. One is around the timelines for application from when the desired start date would be. And the other is your thoughts on co-educational versus, gender-specific education, and how do you determine fit?
Okay, if we go on to the next slide, and let's just see what's on there. Go to the next one and just see, because I think somewhere, or maybe that's the last one, is it?
That's the
okay.
last one, yeah.
That's the one. Let's go for the gender specific, single sex versus co-education. There are fewer single sex schools in the UK than there were even 10 years ago. And recently, some of the big single sex boys' schools have announced that they are moving to become co-education. Winchester College has recently gone. There is talk that Eton will be going and announcing in the not too distant future. So over here in the UK, single-sex boys' schools are not in abundance. There are only 2 or 3 really good ones now. So that suggests it's slightly market-led. Fewer parents wanted to send their boys to single-sex schools in the UK. However, there are significant numbers of outstanding single-sex girls' schools. There are so many debates about whether girls benefit academically and socially by being separate from boys between the age of, let's say, 11 and 16. And quite a few parents I know send their girls to single-sex schools because they believe so. Very often they then send their children to co-educational environment for the last 2 years because they accept that actually they're going into co-educational workplaces and co-educational universities, and they have to develop the skills to have the confidence to work in society. I can't tell you which is best for your daughter or for your son. One of the things we would talk about a lot with you as to your choice. Whichever you decide, it remains the same. We get your child into the best school. For me personally, not as a consultant, my daughters have both gone to co-educational schools because I am a believer in co-education. It's not that I'm a disbeliever in single sex. Yashim, is that answer okay?
Absolutely. Thank you.
And the other question to go back was, apologies, I've forgotten. My brain is.
It was around the timelines. Like when, if you
timelines.
at a certain time, when should we apply?
Absolutely brilliant.
Are we too late for next fall, for instance?
No, you're not. You're absolutely not. However, because there is a caveat here, if your child is academically high flying, and our academic profiling test, which you will see there, if our academic profiling test assesses your child as being really, really academically brilliant, you have to accept that if you come to us now, we're not going to get them necessarily into one of the schools that could be academically appropriate for them, because those spaces went for sixth form. Now, sixth form is our year 12 and 13. It's when they're 16, 17 and 17 and 18. The places for sixth form have been offered last November. So you could be too late for the absolutely best school. You're not going to get into Wellington College or St. Paul's in London now into the sixth form. But that doesn't mean there is not a super school for your child, even at this late stage. But I don't want to work late stage necessarily. I would much rather you gave the English education in Turkey a good 20 months, 24 months, 26, 28 months, so that we could do the job really, really properly. If you're thinking about 16 plus, you need to be registering. Now, the registration is showing an expression of interest, and the schools take not a nominal sum, but something like 150, 200 pounds, $200 to register at the school. You have to do that usually by September of the year before. So if you are looking at a 2025 16 plus entry, you need to be registering by the end of the summer. How do you know which schools to register at? Well, you've got to have visited them. And to have visited them, you've got to take an advice, or you know yourself, which are the right schools for your child. So now is the right time to start working with a consultant like me, because then we've got 6 months to find out what makes your child tick and to introduce you to the schools, and then we go for it. The assessment for 16 plus would then probably be in October, November. Some schools would demand that you go and see the school and have an assessment day and an interview. Other schools, it's an online test with online interviews, but it is very unlikely that they would allow you to join the school before you have paid a visit. They want to see you. They want to see that you are happy with it as an institution. But we do all of that with you. We give you full support, as it says at the bottom. If you're looking at coming across at 13 plus, you've got to do it a bit earlier. You've certainly got to give it 2 years, because at 13 plus, some of the assessments are done 2 years in advance of places being offered, even for international children. So, as you'd expect me to say, give us as much time as possible, and we will give you the best support possible.
Mhm. Thank you. Other questions? This is the end, right? Seems like, yeah.
Yeah,
Jimmy,
yeah, it is.
I'd like to ask you something else. So, what will happen if I go and knock those listed schools door? Hey, I'm here. I have a kid, and who wants to get into your school? So, what would be the response, or is it possible to go there? Just say I came and then I would like to visit your school and blah blah, those kind of things. Is it possible? How is the process in general?
To visit the school? Is it possible to visit the school?
For the admissions?
Yeah.
You think as myself, as a parent, can I do it?
Yeah,
Is it that
absolutely. The schools are so keen on meeting international parents, because you are deeply attractive to the schools, because what these schools want is a mixture of nationalities within their boarding environments. There has been an over-reliance in the schools, and I say this in a non-judgmental way, but there has been an over-reliance upon 2 particular markets for UK boarding schools through our recessions. And we have relied upon the money from mainland China and the money from Hong Kong. And as China goes through its own economic wobbles, the schools are desperately keen to get hold of children from elsewhere in the world. That includes India, where I'm working a lot, countries like Sweden, and countries like Turkey. So you would be given a red carpet treatment if you wished to go to UK schools. Now, we would sort out visits and the recommendations, etc. So we'll act as the introducers to parents, and we can, if you wish, go along to visits. Just this morning, I was at the school with an Indian family, helping them to look around, and they were blown away by the school. They absolutely loved it, and they will hopefully be signing up. So yes, Yashin, you go and look at the schools, because until you see the school and you see the how do I say it, the relationship between the children, how they interact, and importantly, the relationship between the staff, the teachers, and the children, you just don't know whether it's the right school for your child. Because all All these schools have amazing buildings and amazing swimming pools and wonderful hockey pitches. That's not the important bit. The important bit is about the relationships and how the children are respected and valued as individuals.
I mean, Jimmy, thank you very much. But I mean, why the parents, Turkish parents, now they are together here with us? Why they need us? Why they need the English education company to?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Get a good league table. Get a newspaper. And go for a list that says these are the UK's 20 greatest schools. Put your pin in a name and go see the school.
It's
I
like,
mean, what more can I say, Yashin? Because if you do that, you are taking a risk on putting your child in a school that is completely inappropriate. Now, I love my children. And I love all sorts of things about my life, but my children are my focus, always have been. And they are my greatest investment. They actually had to go to the school where I was headmaster. They had no choice. But you have got a choice. So I would suggest that if you don't know too much about it, then use the expertise of other people. A little story, if I may, about a list that was shown to me recently from a family in Beijing, and it was a list of the top 20 schools in the UK. 19 of them were the top schools in the UK, and there was one rogue school in there, and the agent was promising the parent that they would get them into one of the top 20 schools. One of the schools is awful. It's rubbish. So they had doctored the list because they would guarantee to get them into this rubbish school. Be careful who you work with. And unless you really know what you're doing, I would suggest work with professionals. But I would say that, wouldn't I?
Can I ask
Any
a
other
question?
questions?
yeah,
Thank
Işıl has her hand up.
First, thank you very much for this presentation. I would like to ask if there's any possibility, because of economical situations, is there any chance that you would give your consultancy for United World Colleges, because their admission includes some 3 or 4 stages of admission examinations or kind of meetings or interviews, things like that? Do you have any workings on this procedure? That's what
Yeah,
I'd like.
I do. Really strange. I'm a big fan of the United World College movement. I think it is deeply principled, and I like what it does with independence. I very nearly became the principal of the Dover College campus at United World College Southeast Asia in 2009, but we didn't go because my wife was pregnant and we didn't move. I love the United World College, so yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
It's a great pleasure.
Good questions.
Yeah, super questions. I hope you will sense that I'm quite passionate about what I do, and I hope that passion can spill over. I don't know how you want to do follow-up, Yashin, but I am really happy to field any questions by WhatsApp or by email outside of the presentation.
I think Yeşim Hanım has been sharing the contact information.
Super.
Yeah, so you can contact English Education Turkey as often and when you like. I think, Işık Hanım, did you have another question? Her hand was up again, but okay, perhaps not. So yeah, that would not be a problem. Also, I am taking a recording, and I'm thinking we can provide that to all of you post meeting, because we have a list of registrants, so that can be done. I will stop the recording if that's okay with everyone.
Yeşim Hanım, bizim prezentasyonda son bir şeyimiz vardı. Sayfamız vardı. Tüm kontak detaylarımızın olduğu. Onu şey yapamadım. Drive'daki dosyada galiba. Ekran share mi yapmak lazım?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, just a moment.
And you should be able to share your screen. Or we can actually put them in the chat as well.
It's been a
Yeah.
Oh, well done.
She just wants to flash the contact information. Thank you. This is perfect.
Yes.
Super.
You can take a screenshot, or we can so
Okay, should I do anything else? I already shared, and then we have.
you can copy this. You can copy the phone and email information and then drop it in the chat.
Okay, then.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. That might be a good idea. And chat'teki bilgiler sonradan silinecek, istiyorsanız şimdiden kopya alabilirsiniz ya da screenshot alabilirsiniz isterseniz. İstediğiniz zaman arayın, sorun.
Evet, arkadaşlar, isterseniz bilare bir WhatsApp grubu daha mı oluştursak? Paylaşımlara devam edelim mi bu şekilde liseliler
Why not?
için? Bilemedim.
Why not? Peki değişik bildiğiniz, şimdiye kadar duymadığınız bir şey öğrenen, just making conversation, farklı bir şey öğrendim, duydum, yeni bir şeye bize expose ettiniz diye düşünen var mı? Değişik bir şey duyan var mı? Has anybody heard anything new that you didn't know, and has this been helpful? I was just looking for feedback from the group. Any of the attendees? You're on mute, Jimmy.
Apologies. For some reason I left the meeting. I don't know what happened, but I'm back now.
So there's another good question. Emre Bey, when you're writing to me directly. I may miss that, but you do see this. These are very good questions. He says 2 years is a long time to wait for the wait for the registration process. If we miss that, let's say perhaps he's interested in something sooner, should he contact us? Can we still help him? Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
What I'm talking about, maybe do translate, is I'm talking about best scenarios.
Yeah.
Because if you have a very, very academically gifted child, to give the best opportunity to get them into a school which meets their academic standards, earlier the better.
Yeah.
I have placed children who have come, their parents have come to me in July.
Mm-hmm.
I have placed them for September.
Let me just say that in Turkish. Yani
Of course.
2 sene ideal diye bize, yani best case senaryoyu anlattı, ama diyelim siz gelecek hafta sonbaharda başlamak istiyorsunuz ya da yakın bir zamanda, çok geç değil, hala fitler bulunabiliyor. Okulları gerçekten çok iyi tanıyor bu ekip. Onun için bence sormaktan bir şey kaybetmezsiniz. Bize bir e-mail yollayın ya da arayın. Bize ulaşacaksınız. Direkt konuşabileceğiz ekiple. Hiçbir sorun olmayacağını düşünüyoruz. O en iyi senaryoyu anlatıyorduk. Onun için korkacak bir durum olduğunu sanmıyorum. Bu sonbahar için bile. Hatta dedi ki Temmuz'da gelip Eylül'de başlayan olmuş önceden. Just translating what is iterated.
Super.
Evet, hangi okula gideceğiniz, hangi okulu tercih edeceğiniz, bunların hiçbirisi çalışmaya başlamadan belli olmayacağı için belki de çok açığı olan, çok denk gelen, sizin de arzu ettiğiniz ve çocuğunuzun mutlu olacağı bir okul olabilir. Oraya denk düşebiliriz. O yüzden ne kadar erken başlarsak, gene Jimmy'nin dediği gibi, o kadar iyi olacak herkes için. Özellikle de çocuğun mutluluğu için.
And then Adnan Bey is asking, what do you do in the 20 months? He says language courses, or what else? So what is that period?
Yeah, I mean, that's really good. A lot of the schools like to have the process over a long time, so they are able to pick the best children.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that we often find is that to prepare children to do the assessments, etc., we sometimes have to give specific advice about what tutoring will help to get them through the process. We always offer the simple things like interview training. We do that as part of our service. But sometimes I may say, yes, you need some specific English support, and we can advise in that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are being assessed 20 months or a year in advance, usually the schools will say, no, you're good enough now. We want you. We don't want you till next September, but we think you're going to be a fantastic child here at the school. So very often you don't have to do anything else. Sometimes they may make what we call a conditional offer, so that they would have to, if they're doing their own exams, maybe IGCSEs at their school in Turkey, they may stipulate that they have to get certain grades in the subjects that they are going to major in at A level. But that is normal educational thing. So we can offer as much advice and support to get over the hurdles. And we do that with all our clients.
Thank you.